Now let's move on to surrealism. Surrealism has its roots in Dada and poetry and came on the Paris art scene around 1924. Andre Breton, the poet and founder of surrealism, found its artistic counterpart in the paintings of Giorgio de Chirico. I want you to investigate what is surrealism's relationship to Freudian free association and the unconscious world. Surrealism looked for ways to make new truths, to reveal the language of the soul. It was not a style, but a matter of thinking and knowing, a way to feel and to live. It expressed poetic faith in man and his spirit. The impact of surrealist poets and writers had been limited to French literary and scholarly circles. It was actually through the painters like Chirico that surrealism affected society and visual communications. Other artists joined the Surrealist movement and made influential changes in photography and illustration, including the German poet-painter Max Ernst. He was a restless Dadaist and used a number of techniques in his images. For example, like this one, in some of his collages, he used a photomechanical printing technique to obliterate cut edges, unifying the image. His surreal collages have had a strong influence on illustration. He was a member of the Dada movement and a founding member of Surrealism. Another artist who's significant in the Surrealist movement is René Magritte. He was a Belgian Surrealist. He rendered space, color, perspective, and figures in careful naturalism, but the image that he created was an unreal dreamscape. He used slight scale changes, unexpected juxtapositions, and still maintained a poetic relationship between reality and illusion and truth and fiction. Then, of course, there's the very notable Spanish painter Salvador Dali, who influenced graphic design in two ways. His deep perspective style of painting inspired future artists to bring vast depth to the page, and his naturalistic approach has been imitated in posters and editorial images. I want you to tell me what you feel was surrealism's overall impact on graphic design, because many people and many students I find are very interested in surrealism. Surrealism showed how fantasy and intuition could be expressed in visual terms. Now, the last movement we're going to talk about is expressionism. Expressionism came out of Germany pre-World War I as a way not to depict objective reality, but subjective emotions and personal responses to subject and events. I want you to tell me what three design elements were central to Expressionism and how were they used. Expressionists felt a deep sense of social crisis. Many German expressionists rejected the authority of the military, education, and the government. They used the poor and social outcasts as the subject of their work, and they believed that art was the way to a new social order and to improve the human condition. One of the great expressionists was Russian-born Vasily Kandinsky. He was a founding member of one of the two early expressionist groups. His group was called Der Blaue Reiter, and this group took its name from a painting that Kandinsky did called Le Cavalier Bleu. I want you to tell me what were the two early expressionist groups. I just gave you the name of one of them. And then I want you to explore what were their philosophies. Here's a painting that was done by Vasily Kandinsky called Improvisation 29. And Kandinsky defined an improvisation as a spontaneous expression of inner character having spiritual nature. He actually created the first completely abstract painting in history. The composition of color and forms are not related to the visible reality, but causes a certain feeling. This step meant a major change for art with its unknown possibilities. He sought to express a spiritual reality beyond outward appearances and explored problems of form and color. He became an advocate of art that revealed the spiritual nature of people through color, line, and form. He actually compared color and form to music and its ability to express deep human emotion. And he claimed he could hear music when he painted. Another notable expressionist is Paul Klee. He was also involved with Der Blaue Reiter. His subject matter was translated into graphic signs and symbols with strong communicative power. What I want you to tell me is, where did Paul Klee find inspiration for his work? Through Kandinsky and Klee, theories about color and form became important foundations for design and design education at the Bauhaus, which we'll discuss in a couple chapters. So, as a closing remark, German Expressionism also extended into theater, film, and literature. And finally, we're going to discuss photography and the modern movement. Photography was also influenced by the new visual language of the modern movement. The artist's concern about line, plane, shape, texture, and the relationship between these elements became a concern to photographers. Here's an example done by Francis Bruguiere called light abstraction. And I know this is a loaded question, but look at this particular painting, photograph, pause your slideshow, and think about, what do you think the subject of this piece is? American artist Man Ray was the first to explore the potential of solarization. Solarization is a reversal of tones in the denser areas of a photographic negative, which adds strong black contours to the edges of major shapes. You may remember the name from an old Photoshop filter. Man Ray also created something called cameraless prints, but they had a specific name, and he made them by moving beams of light and combining experimental techniques like solarization. He used distortion and multiple exposures as he searched for dreamlike images and new interpretation of time and space by applying surrealism to photography. So, to conclude this chapter, the images, methods, and philosophies from Cubism, Futurism, Dada, Surrealism, and Expressionism have continued to influence designers, artists, and illustrators to this day.